Welcome to the Cheating Diaries. Did Yak know that over on 90% of our audience watches our videos, but hasn't subscribed yet? If you enjoy these stories and want to see more, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. It only takes a second and it helps us create more amazing content for you. The air was thick with tension wrapping round me like a second skin. My pals pounded in my ears, a steady reminder of the choice I was about to make, dressed in a sleek black gown thatched. Every curve I waited, anticipation coiling tight in my stomach. The elevator door slid open with a soft chime anther. He was Elias Carter, the man who had occupied my thoughts, my dreams. My desire seeing him in person was almost surreal. He radiated confidence, power force that commanded attention without uttering a word. His dark eyes met mine sharp and assessing, his lips curving gently, a knowing smirk. "You're stunning," he murmured, his voice a low caress that sent a shiver through me. I swallowed hard. My throat suddenly dry, but I didn't look away. I couldn't. His presence held me captive. Without hesitation, he reached for my hand, his grip firm yet unhurried, letting into the lavish hotel suite. The city scalenes stretched beyond the floor to ceiling windows, but I barely noticed. My entire world had narrowed down to Himalayas. Removed his jacket, the movement fluid controlled. His black shirt fit snugly, emphasizing the broad expanse of his chest, the firm muscles beneath the fabric. His scent enveloped me, clean, masculine, with something deeper, darker, more primal. "You've been watching me," he mused, his voice smooth yet edged with certainty. I can tell. Heat crept up my cheeks, but I didn't deny it. I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. His smirk deepened, his gaze darkening with something dangerous. "And now you want to know what teat feels like?" I nodded, my breath catching. "Say it." His tone was gentle but firm, a command wrapped in silk. For a moment hesitation danced on my tongue, but then desire outweighed doubt. "I want to know what it feels like." The playful curve of his lips faded, replaced by something deeper, something raw. Before I could react, his hands were on me, his grip possessive yet reverent. He pulled me against him, his body solid, unyielding. The heat between us was electric, setting my nerves ablaze. His lips met mine, demanding, consuming. Every touch was deliberate, every kiss ignited a fire I had realized I had been suppressing. He moved with certainty, his hands mapping my body like he already knew the places that would unravel me. I had imagined this moment in fleeting daydreams. Nothing could have prepared me forth intensity after reality. The night blurred into a haze, off tangled sheets and whispered confessions. Allah's wasn't just passionate, he was relentless, attuned to every tremor in my body, every sharp intake of breath. He didn't hesitate. He didn't fumble. He knew exactly what to do, exactly how to make him come undone. By the time it was over, to lay breathless beside him, my skin flushed, my body humming with satisfaction I had never known before. The weight of what I had done loomed over me, but in that moment I couldn't bring myself to regret it. As the night stretched into early morning, guilt crept in like an unwelcome guest. I loved my husband Ryan, but I had never felt this way before, this alive, this awakened. It turned to Elias, his face relaxed, content evident in the lazy smirk on his lips. "You're incredible," he murmured, brushing a strand of hair from my face. I forced a small smile. The words should have made me happy, but all they did was relieve me of what I had just risked. There at home was eerily quiet. I stared at me reflection in the cab window, searching for the woman I had been before tonight, but she was gone. The way I moved, the way I carried myself, it all felt different, as if something inside me had been unlocked, and now there was no going back. When I stepped into our apartment, Ryan was setting the table for dinner. He looked up smiling. "You're back," said, walking over to kiss me. I let them. His lips were soft, familiar, nothing like Elias. "Yeah," I replied, my voice steady. "Trip went well." He studied me for a moment, his brow furrowing slightly. "You look different." My stomach clenched to front. He chuckled. Shaking his head, relaxed, happier even, I almost laughed eyefully. He knew days passed and life resumed. It's routine breakfast together, a goodbye kiss before work, dinner in the evenings. But inside was unraveling gavery time. Ryan touched me. I had Torah mind. Myself to respond to pretend I've held the same way I always had, but my body knew the difference now. I used to fake pleasure to make him feel good, to keep things simple. But after Elias, he couldn't even pretend anymore because, no, I knew what it truly felt. Like, and that was dangerous. The guilt never truly faded, but I learned to live with it. It told myself it was just a fantasy one. I had fulfilled, and now it was over. I convinced myself I still loved Ryan Andon, a way I did, but love and desire were a two different things, and now I knew Theophrance. The hardest part wasn't the guilt. It was the temptation. For days I fought the urge to readjust to Alias, just one message, justo. See if he remembered, if he thought about that night the way I did, but to stop myself every time this was own time thing. I had crossed a line I could never uncross. And Ryan would never know, because I would take this secret tummy grave days turned into weeks, and I convinced myself I could bury with a pan with Elias, lock it away in some dark corner of my mind, and move on. I played the role of the devoted wife, the woman who had everything she could ever need, and for a while I almost believed it, but the lie became harder to maintain. Memories crept in at the most unexpected moments. Ryan would wrap his arms around me at night, holding me close beyond all I could think about was how different Elias's touch had been, how he claimed me, how he knew me in ways Malia Spand never did. I tried to shake it off to focus on the life I had built with Ryan. He was kind, loving, he adored. But love and desire were not the same thing. One evening, we were at a dinner party with a friend sitting at a table lit by the soft glow of candle. Lytrion was beside me, his hand resting on my thigh, a casual display of affection. Smiled, engaged in conversation, but Mimond was far away. Then my phone vibrated in my lap, a message. I glanced down, my heart stopping cold when I saw the Namiliasi. Wonder if you still think about that night. My breath caught in my throat, my fingers trembled as I locked the screen and slipped my phone into my purse. My pulse pounded. Did he know what he was doing to me? Did he realize how close I was to unraveling? I could still feel the heat of his breath against my skin, through it of his hands. The memory of him haunted me, whispering its presence no matter how hard I tried to silence it. I excused myself from the table, muttering something about needing fresh air, and stepped out onto the restaurant's balcony. The city lights stretched before me, a glittering sea of distractions, but nothing could distract him. From him I shouldn't have replied. I should have deleted the message, erased old traces of him. But instead, my fingers moved on their own. I don't have time for this. Kana seconds later, his reply, Camila's, that's not an answer. I closed my eyes, exhaling slowly. No, it wasn't me. It was one night. It's over. Another message came almost instantly. That's funny, because I remember you begging for more. A shiver ran through me, my body betraying me, even as me mind screamed to stop. He was toying with me, pushing me to see how much he could take before I snapped. I couldn't have this. I shoved my phone back into my purse and returned to my seat, forcing as smile as I reached for my wine glass. Rian turned to me, his eyes soft with love. Everything okay? I nodded, of course, but inside I was crumbling. I held out for as long as I could. I ignored the massages, the late night temptations to pan my phone and respond, but resisting Julius felt like trying to hold P back tied. And then one afternoon, I saw him. I was walking out of a cafe, kefi in hand, when I froze in place. Across the street, leaning casually against a sleek black car, was Elias. He was watching Medrest in a fitted dark coat. His presence was just as magnetic as I remembered. He didn't move, didn't call out to me, just stood there waiting. As a lint challenge, I could have walked away, pretended I didn't see him, going back to my carefully curated life. But my feet moved before I could stop them, closing the distance between us. What the hell are you doing? Here I hissed, my voice low but sharp. His smirk was infuriating. Nice to see you too. Scarl, fearing my name from his lips, did things to me. I didn't want to acknowledge you're insane, I muttered, glancing around. I make sure no one was watching. Yo can't just show up like this. Why not? Hit tilted his head. I wanted to sill. I hated how my heart skipped at those words. Calius. This was supposed to be a one-time thing. He stepped closer. Hiss. Voice dropping to that dangerous and tight tone that had ruined me. Once before, then why are you still hair-talking to me instead of walking away? I had no answer because the truth was, if I didn't want to walk away, he reached out his fingers, brushing my wrist, light fleeting but enough to send a jolt through me. I sucked. In a breath, meet me, he said, not a request, a command. I shook me head. I can't, you can. He leaned in, his lips deusely, close to my ear, and ya will. His words settled into my skin, Lakia brand, burning long after he stepped back. I turned and walked away, my hands clenched into fists. I needed to be stronger. I had to be stronger, but that night as I lay Bicedarian, my body restless, my mind trapped in memories, I couldn't escape. I knew I was already lost. And it was only a matter of time before I fell again. The pull of Alias was undeniable, no matter how Moochie tried to resist. He was always there, waiting, watching, tempting. But I couldn't keep living like this. One evening, as it across from Ryan at dinner, I realized I had already made my choice. He was telling me about his day, smiling the way he always did, completely unaware of storm raging inside me. I loved him, bet. I had betrayed him, and I couldn't undernote. That night, I stood in front of the mirror, staring at my own reflection, searching for the woman I used to be. Butch was gone. I picked up my phone, my heart hammering as I typed, Amiza Jim. I can't do this anymore. Don't contact him again. I hesitated only for a second before hitting Senzicons. Later, the replica Amelia's, are you sure? I exhaled sharply, forcing myself to do what I should have done from the start. I blocked his number then. I turned off my phone, climbed intobed beside my husband, and wrapped my arms around him as if holding on to him could somehow undo the past. It couldn't, but it was time to stop running some screts I would take to my grave. And that concludes Scarlett's story, one off temptation, betrayal, and a choice she can never take back. But what do you think's hold she have stayed loyal to Ryan from the start, or do you believe her connection with Alias was worth the risk, Vos, blocking him the right decision? Ordo, you think she'll fall back in temptation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. It's love to hear your take in this story, and if you enjoyed it, forget to like, share, and subscribe for more.